Hi,
Oh, hello.
I got kicked out.
Oh, did I kick you out?
I don't know, maybe it's the internet.
Okay, because I signed in.
Yeah, and I wasn't there yet because I was able to sign in and then I was disconnected.
All
It's just us so far.
right.
You had me giggle with your take two.
Oh my God, me and Pam were talking until like 11 o'clock, and she's like, no, maybe this, maybe that. Yeah,
Only the last one, right? The one that's like a minute something. That's the one you want.
a minute?
The recording.
Oh, you mean laughing with the other thing? Oh, yeah. I was like, oh my God, poor Micheline has to look at these.
I
Yeah.
saw the text come in and I was gonna open them. I was like, nope, you need to go to sleep.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to forget. You know, I forget everything.
No, it's okay. I usually shut off my phone, but my friend is in the hospital. She could go any second. So
Which
that's why I
friend?
left it on.
One who has
Huh?
cancer?
Yeah,
Oh man, Mish, I'm so sorry.
it sucks. They let the kids go in and say bye.
Okay, so I mean, that's, positive.
Oh.
Are they all right, the kids?
The little one, I saw the little one yesterday because we were walking and they're literally 3 blocks away from us.
What kind of cancer does she have?
It was colon and it spread. It went around for the past, I think over a year. She's had a tumor around her aorta.
Oh my gosh.
She was in a lot of pain because when I gave her Reiki, I could feel the pain.
Oh man.
She's been in a lot of pain. But and she was a nurse, so she would tell me, like, she's like, Micheline, if you see my paperwork, she's like, I don't understand why I'm still alive. Like, I know I should be dead looking at my stuff.
Wow.
She's like, but I have my kids to fight for. So I think that's what kept her going so long.
Makes sense. You do anything for your children.
Yep. And she had a beautiful support system.
Aw.
Oh, so the GoFundMe, what you text yesterday, I put up in the story, right? That's what you wanted. Change what was in there.
You put in the story?
Oh, the GoFundMe, like what you text last night, the description of.
Yeah, that goes
Okay.
in there.
I changed it.
What sutra are we up to? 27?
Give me 1 second. I had to reboot the router. Oh shit. Okay, well, Amanda's hosting, so that's good. I got kicked out for a reason. He has to reboot the router.
Okay, I'll see you in a minute.
All right. So that's why I got kicked out.
Oh, he
Where
already
is
did
everyone?
it? You did, or?
There's no one coming in still?
No, I guess it's just me and you today. Oh no, there's 3 people. Sorry, I'm not paying attention. Oh, there's more than that. Oopsie daisy. Okay, hi everybody. Good morning.
I guess I'll try to get in from the phone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Pam. I'm sorry I kept you up all night. Good morning, Adriana. Sarah who's Sarah? Sarah Murphy? I don't see Sarah. you want to reveal who you are, let me know. Hi, Kathleen. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Debbie. Good
Sarah.
morning.
Morning.
Sarah?
It's my first time here, so you wouldn't know me.
Oh, hi. Welcome.
Hey.
Where do you live, Sarah?
In New York City.
Oh, nice. How did you hear about the studio?
I was just looking last night to find something for 7:30 and before work, and I came across your studio and I liked what I saw. So
nice. So you know what this is all about? This is a class. We're going to talk some yoga philosophy, and then we'll do some meditation practice and breathing practices. Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
Cool. Very good. So you practice in the city then?
Yes, I do.
What studio do you practice at, if you don't mind me asking?
Ishta Yoga.
I've heard of Ishta.
Yeah, and I did my 200-hour last winter.
Yeah. Who is one of my favorite teachers trained at Ishta? Is that Alan Finger?
Yeah, that's the founder.
Nice.
Yeah. He does some of the 200-hour training. Yeah.
Oh, that must have been such a pleasure to learn.
Yeah.
From him.
It's awesome.
Very cool. You guys can't see. Morning, Sue.
Hey, good morning.
Well, we've been doing this since we got locked down. So this has been sort of our our like reconnect to other human beings and our sort of touching back in with the real basis of yoga. Yeah, so we've gotten through, we're working through Satchidananda's translation of the sutras. We're up to,
very cool.
Yeah, we're on Sutra 27 in the first book today. And he's talking about Om, which is a good thing for, I guess, everybody to sort of learn about, because we chant it so often in class. And Sarah, there are a lot of yoga teachers here today too. There are a lot of students who are very serious about their practice. And so I'll read, or whoever's, leading will read and give a little interpretation, and then everybody has open discussion about it before we meditate. So just so you know the format.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Okay, so the word expressive of Ishvara, which is the universal consciousness, is the mystic sound Om. Good morning, Richard. We just got started. We're talking about Om. Because it's difficult to understand anything without a name, Pantanjali wants to give the supreme Purusha, which means consciousness, a name. Even if he doesn't have a particular form, he should have a name. But Ishvara is a limited name. Quote unquote, God is also limited because the very vibrations of the letters are limited. So Pantanjali wants a name that can give an unlimited idea and vibration, and which can include all vibrations, all sounds, and all syllables, because God is like that, infinite. So Pantanjali says his name is We can't easily say so it is written as Om. Om is called pranava, which simply means humming. But you need not hum to feel Ishvara's presence. If you hum, it is as if you were trying to create Ishvara or bring him into you. There's no need to create him, but just to feel him in you. If you close your eyes and ears, sit quietly, allow the mind to be completely silent, and then listen within, you will hear a humming. Ishvara talks to us always, but we talk so loud we fail to hear his speech. Here also we have to understand why we should give a name to something. In Sanskrit, there is a term padartha. Colloquially, it means thing, but literally it means the pada and artha, the thing and its meaning. The name and form of a thing are inseparable. When you want to express a thought, you have to put it into words. Without words, you can't convey what you're thinking. So every thought or substance should have a name to express it. That is why we have a name for everything in this world. But in the normal sense, a name may mean something, but it can't convey the exact nature of that thing. For example, when I say apple, we all know what an apple is. So we're able to visualize the substance behind that name. But if a person has never seen or heard of an apple, the word cannot convey anything. She cannot create a picture from the word itself. She may even wonder who this apple is. It has only become the name of that fruit through usage. But Ishvara's designation should not be like that. There are hundreds and thousands of names for God, but none of them convey the exact idea of God. They may give a picture of one aspect of God, but not his fullness. God is, was, and always will be, without beginning or end, infinite and omnipresent. For such a great one, there should be a name that conveys those same ideas. And not only that, but by repeating it, the very name should manifest God in you. The name chair can remind you of a chair, but you can't sit on it. Sugar can remind you of something sweet, but you can't taste it. But God's name should not only denote the fullness of God and itself represent him, it should also bring him to you. And such a name cannot be anything but Om. Please do not think that I am Hindu and Hindu scriptures say this, so that is why I'm saying it. I don't belong to any particular religion, but all the scriptures indicate this. The Bible says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God. And the Hindu Vedas say the name of Brahman is Om, and Om is Brahman himself. Why do they say this Om is so rich, so deep, and capable of representing the omnipresent, endless, and beginningless God? Let us see why it is so. The name Om can be split into 3 letters, A, U, and M. That is why it is often written A-U-M. The entire Mandukya Upanishad expounds the meaning of Om. There it divides Om into 4 stages, A, U, M, and Anagata, or the one that is beyond verbal pronunciation. A is the beginning of all sound. Every language begins with the letter A or A. A is pronounced by simply opening the mouth and making a sound. That sound is produced in the throat where the tongue is rooted. So audible sound begins with A. Then as the sound comes forward between the tongue and the palate up to the lips, U or U is pronounced. Then closing the lips produces M, so the creation is A, the preservation is U, and the culmination is M. So AUM includes the entire process of sound, and all other sounds are contained in it. Thus, Om is the origin or seed from which all other sounds and words come. In other words, Om is dormant in all other words. After the verbal sound ends, there is still a vibration. That is the unspoken or anagata, sound which is always in you, even before saying the A and after finishing the M. So there is always a sound vibration in you that can never be destroyed. You can always listen to that sound if you remain quiet. For that reason, it is also called a japa or unrepeated. Japa means repetition, but the a japa is what need not be repeated. It is always going on within. It is heard only when all other sounds cease. Even thinking creates a sound, because thought itself is a form of speaking. By thinking, you distort the original sound, which transcends the beginning, continuation, and end of the Om sound. To listen to that sound, you have to keep your mind quiet, stop the thinking process, and dive within. Then you will be able to listen to that hum. That hum is called pranava because it is connected with prana. Prana is the basic vibration which always exists, whether it's manifesting or not. It is never ending. It is something like in our waking state when we think, speak, and act, whereas in the sleeping condition, the mind seems to keep quiet. But actually, even in the sleeping state, movement is still there. Vibration is still there in the mind in an unmanifested condition. Scientifically, we can say that when manifested objects are reduced to their unmanifested condition, they go back to the atomic vibration. Nobody can stop that atomic vibration. We say that animate objects move while inanimate ones do not because it appears that way to our eyes. We can't see any motion in a stone, but that doesn't mean that it's motionless. We need not go to the scriptures. The scientists themselves have proven that. Or if you look at quantum physics, everything is vibrating. Similarly, even without your repeating it, the basic sound is always vibrating in you. It is the seed from which all other sounds manifest. That is why Om represents God in the fullest sense. It has the power to create everything. If you make an apple out of clay, paint it beautifully, and put it on a table With the real apple, an ordinary person cannot see the difference between the clay apple and the real one. They look alike and have the same name. But if you plant them both, your clay apple will not create an apple tree, but the real one will. The true apple has the creative capacity within itself because the seed is there. Likewise, other words are just like the clay apple, while the seed word Om has the creative capacity to manifest the entire world. The entire world evolves from that and goes back into that again. That is why God's name should be Om. No other name can be more adequate to represent him. We should also understand that Om was not invented by anybody. Some people didn't come together, hold nominations, take a vote, and the majority decided, all right, let God have the name Om. No, he himself manifested as Om. Any seeker who really wants to see God face to face will ultimately see him as Om. That is why it transcends all geographical, political, or theological limitations. It doesn't belong to one country or one religion. It belongs to the entire universe. It is a variation of this Om that we see as the Amen or Amin, which the Christians, Muslims, and Jews say. That doesn't mean someone changed it. Truth is always the same. Wherever you sit for meditation, you will ultimately end in experiencing Om or the hum. But when you want to express what you experienced, you may use different words according to your capacity or the language you know. For example, if some children hear somebody fire a gun and come running to their mama, one may cry, "Mama, mama, I heard a big sound, doom." Another child will say, "No, mama, it went doop." "Oh, mama, I heard a big bang." The third child will say, "Is it doom or doop or bang?" These are all different versions of the same sound as heard by the different children. Likewise, if you sit and meditate and go deep into the cosmic sounds, you may say, "Oh, I heard it as Amen." Others will say, "I heard it as Amin." A third will say, Om. A fourth will say, That's why the Upanishads say, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahadu Vedanti. Truth is one. Seers express it in many ways, is the translation. So here we have learned the greatness of that basic seed word Om. No other name can be more suitable than this for the Supreme. And now having expressed its greatness, Pantanjali continues by saying to repeat it with reflection upon its meaning is an aid. So let me just, it's very long. That was very long, but it expressed it well, what Om means. It gets broken apart. And if you look into the Vedas, you want a deeper, more meaningful expression of it. A is often depicted as Brahma. U is often depicted as Vishnu, who is the sustainer, or like the sweetness of life. And then M is often depicted as Shiva, or the destroyer, as Shiva dances upon ignorance or the attachment to the material. And underneath all that, the silence is the Turiya, or the consciousness, the thing that's watching everything change in the material world. And just what we've been discussing all these weeks is that there is the material, and then there is the spiritual, right? There is the consciousness, or Purusha, watching matter change all the time, getting created, being sustained, and ending. So there's the permanent watching the impermanent. And that's what Om represents. And Swami Gyanasvara goes further to explain that Om actually is a roadmap for our sadhana or spiritual practices. It's not a shallow way of looking at things. It's diving into the depths of all 7 layers of experience. And they say there are these universal realities that we become aware of as we chant the mantra Om, internally, externally. The first layer, they say, is Vashvarna. It's the waking conscious aspect of the self. It's the it's like the gross realm of the waking state of the conscious mind. And then there's a transition to the next state, which is, we'd call the second state, Unmani. So then we move into the next state, which is dreaming, or your unconscious mind, where you're sort of playing out all your samskaras, or your impressions of the day, or your impressions that you've experienced in life, or even in previous lives. It's the Taijasa. And then we have another transition, which is the next layer, Aladani. And then the next layer is deep sleep, or your subconscious mind, prajna. They call it like the causal realm. So it's the place where all the seeds have been planted of your impressions, where there's all potentiality of them manifesting through your experience. Right? It's like the deepest layer in the mind. Then further than that is samadhi, which we've been discussing at length the past couple of days. Right? Samadhi is that full and deep absorption into the thing that you are meditating upon. And then the last layer is turiya, which is consciousness. This is Purusha, right? The absolute. This is the silence beneath the Om. And when you look at the symbol of Om, you actually can, let me share the screen. We'll look at a picture really quick. So you can just see that the picture actually represents all the different parts of what they're trying to explain. Let me just get you this. This is a vinyl decal advertisement. Okay. You guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. So hold on, let me just. So the lower curve is the consciousness. The center curve is the subtle unconsciousness. The upper curve is the causal subconsciousness. And then this point, the dot or bindu, represents the fourth state, which you see is separate from the whole thing, right? The fourth state is that turiya, or that pure consciousness that's looking at all the other things changing. And then the arc below the dot, it just symbolizes that separateness of the fourth state. Like what we've been talking about through Sankhya philosophy, right? Purusha influences, organizes Prakriti. Consciousness organizes matter, but matter can't affect consciousness. There's a separateness there. All right, I'll leave you with that. And any thoughts? It's a big topic. It's the whole universe in one word. Oh, I gotta unmute you guys. Sorry if you were talking. One sec. You'll have to unmute yourselves if you want to.
Okay.
What has been your experience with Om? What are your thoughts about this, you guys?
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Adriana. Good morning.
So what do I want to share? I wanted to share that, like, I understand now why in trauma-informed classes sometimes we don't chant. I've always found it like such a soothing sound, especially when everyone chants together. You know, when there's a lot of people in the room and everyone has sort of moved through class together, and it's almost like your energies sync up, and that final Om before you go home is sometimes just like so lovely and so soothing. And I always wondered, like, why, you know, what's the big deal? It's just a sound. And I'm just curious about, like, people who are trying to, or those of us who are like teaching to communities that maybe don't want to have a conversation about God or don't care about these conversations about God. And I understand now why sometimes there's no Om, you know, because you want to be inclusive and not offensive. And I heard the way Nina described it to me years ago when I saw her.
Yeah.
She said to me, anything that was ever created, anything that ever came to be, came in with a sound, and that sound is Om. That's how she used to describe it. I remember she ripped a paper in half and she said, listen. Do you hear Om? She ripped it and she said, do you hear Om? And I was like, yes, I do. When really I was like, no, I don't hear Om. But I did once also speak to, like, I'm very spiritual, even though I'm not religious. So sometimes I hang out with born again Christians because it's very charismatic and very moving, very sort of like animated. And so this charismatic Christian was talking to me once about a spiritual experience she had, and she was saying, you know, she said she went into prayer and that something happened to her. It was like she wasn't here anymore, and there was knowledge and like the feeling of people around her, although she couldn't see anyone. She knew that it was like all the people who had passed, and she said that all she could hear was you know, when the refrigerator hums. She said all she could hear was that. Yeah, and that was like right after teacher training, and I was like, yeah, they must be right then. The yogis must be right. Yeah, that's my bit. I love the Om, but I understand why some people skip it. And yeah, I think the other side sounds like all the way through, probably.
Yeah, I mean, with trauma, sometimes you need to peel away the layers slowly, and the bigger practices are not, it's not time yet, you know what I mean? Like you, in the tradition of yoga, you're gonna go based upon where your students are at and how you teach them. It's not meant where everyone fits into the same box. It really is where their mind is at, right? We've learned about the different modifications of the mind and the levels of mastery over the mind. And, you know, sometimes we have to deal with just the body first if we're moving through a healing. We can't get into the, you know, you can't be having these deeper philosophical discussions because you're dealing with, you know, bigger things. It's almost like, is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Like you can't get into the whole self-actualization part until you've dealt with feeling safe and feeling grounded and making sure you have food and security and emotional support. And, you know, it was interesting theory there.
Totally.
So it makes sense. Something else you said about, yeah, it's a lot of people say when Jesus left and went to the desert that they think he was studying the mystic arts of yoga, and he's like a yogi. He's got cities, you know, psychic powers. And there are still in India to this day, there are mystic Christians who meditate in the caves alongside the mystic yogis, and they're doing a lot of similar practices. I mean, we have japa beads the way that they have rosary beads, and like there's so many underlying crosshairs, I guess you could say. It was like what Jackie was saying yesterday. It's not religion that's really the issue. It's when you get into the organized religion and people start getting away from the original teachings, right? That stuck with me. Yeah, because the original teachings all seem to be the same because truth is universal. So the Vedas really accommodate every belief system, which is cool, even though it's not a religion in itself.
That's cool. That's cool. Thank you for sharing, Adrienne. I have a quick comment. First, Mike's, and good morning also, Richard speaking. My first experience with Om was at Revolution, and I was kind of taken aback because I didn't really understand what it was. But once I got into it, and once I got into the practice, I quickly understood. Or I like to always think like I could wrap my hand, like I always say, yeah, I understand. So like it was an easy sell for me, the sound of the universe, Om, because, you know, as your practice developed, you could kind of feel a vibration there, a vibration happening. But when you were just explaining and reading, and especially when you're explaining the symbolism, it took me to a conversation I was having with my mother, and we were trying to work through some stuff. And sometimes, like, the different levels of consciousness, and then there's that separation. What was the one on top, the bindu?
Yeah,
What's
the
it called?
Victoria.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a higher consciousness. I saw it as, because a lot of times, and this is, I like came to a little bit of a realization that even though you can have conflict, and you could try to work through it, and then like kind of agreeing to disagree and not move it forward, could kind of leave you perplexed. And sometimes it's like, yeah, with the yogi or the person has to discriminate emotionally what's going to push them forward. But that feeling of just being perplexed in a situation might just influence a subtle consciousness that won't allow you to move into that next space. And it's so interesting how just the word and the vibration of the word could like kind of encompass a whole relationship with your creator, right? So I just thought that was like really interesting how that kind of got me thinking, because that conversation was last night. To keep it 100, to be honest, that conversation was last night. I'm a little perplexed, and it kind of just shines some light on what I have to do. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, my teacher always says often people don't come to that inner realization of consciousness until they're just so fed up with the material world, because it doesn't make sense, and you think it's going to act one way and it doesn't, and you just get to a point where you're like, this is not bringing me any satisfaction, this is just frustrating and perplexing and upsetting. Yeah, so you kind of like you realize that you can't rely on it necessarily, and you turn back inward. And I think a lot of people right now in this very extreme environment that we're all experiencing are starting to get a taste of that. Like, there has to be something more. Now all of our vices are taken away, all of our distractions. We're like right in the thick of it, whether you're at the forefront of what's going on and you're right in the thick of it and you're realizing the temporality of like the material life, or you're like stuck at home just like with your thoughts, you're realizing, and with your people, and everyone's starting to get on each other's nerves. You're starting to realize that there's something witnessing inside of you, and it's like a more settling place to lean into than all the things that we thought we needed to get satisfaction outside of ourselves. Well, thank you for sharing, Richard.
Amanda.
Yeah.
I always notice the difference of Om. Like when we open class, it's a certain Om, and then at the end of class, and it always makes me think like, there it is. Like the Om in the beginning of class came from everybody's head, including mine, and then the Om at the end of class had nothing to do with like anybody's thoughts. It's just Om. Like it sounds completely different.
It does sound different. It's like, I always think like the yoga practice is like a tuning fork, and suddenly like there's a different vibration at the end. It's like so harmonic and beautiful at the end, right? Yeah, that's a good observation, Micheline.
I love that Om. I miss it so bad right now.
Oh, I know you can't hear anyone oming on Zoom. I'm always like, let's om together, and it's just me.
Somebody could write a book on the differences between the beginning class of Om and the end. It's always, because you go into it with just so much baggage, and by the end it's such a collective, like, I don't know. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Are there anyone else have any other thoughts on this topic before we move into the practice? Okay. So when you're doing, I think it's worth mentioning, since today the topic is Om, that japa is, they were talking about ajapa, which means without the sound, right? Without the repetition of the sound. So japa is a form of meditation practice where you're either externally repeating, quietly repeating, or internally repeating a mantra. And mantra manas, the word manas means the mind. So the idea of mantra, doing mantra repetition every day, is like a cleansing of the mind. It's like brushing your teeth in the morning. You give your mind something else to focus on so that you can focus on the deeper silence, right? The consciousness can focus on or absorb itself in something deeper. So another thing that's said about mantra repetition is just like he was saying in the book, that if you chant Om, it's not like saying apple and then getting a clay apple. It's like the manifestation of that thing. It's like a calling out for the energy of the universe of whatever mantra you're repeating, and they say that it starts to manifest within you. That whole idea of Sankhya philosophy, as above so below, whatever is going on in the bigger universe, you have a tiny little universe inside of you. When you really get into this, Ayurveda teaches it from a very material standpoint, but yoga explains it as, there are all these stories of the deities. And they say, oh, Lakshmi means the abundance of the universe, but it also means the abundance within your own being. So they're really just, they're stories to explain very abstract ideas, very big, wild, huge ideas that our limited perceptive vehicle can't often comprehend. So we get a narrative about like a prince and a princess saving the princess from the evil or whatever, and it gives ourself something to understand, because there's a personality involved with that being, right? And the personality represents the energy in the universe. So when you're chanting a mantra internally, it can help you to manifest it in your own experience, which is pretty cool. And each mantra has its own kind of feeling, right? When you're chanting Om repeatedly to yourself, that has a feeling. When you're chanting other mantras, it's a different feeling. It touches upon a different part of your insides. And as you experiment with it, you'll experience this yourself. So you might be working on whatever meditation practice you're working on, or you might be working on stilling the body. You might be working on establishing a long, deep breath without pause, break, or shakiness. You might be working on observing the fluctuations of the mind without judgment. You might be working on just going through the whole list of what we've already explained thus far. You might be working on looking at a thought and deciding if it's helpful or not, favoring what's helpful. Or you might be starting to settle into that deeper vibration and just existing there, right? So wherever you're at is great. If you want to play with a mantra today, you could play with the mantra Om. Now, usually you see those japa malas, the mala beads that the teachers are always wearing. They're really just counting beads. They're meant for you to have a certain amount of mantras, and then you're done, because you get to the guru bead, which has the big fluffy tassel at the end. So you kind of like go through each bead and you say the mantra, you say the mantra, you say the mantra. So if you guys want to experiment with that, you don't have to count, because I'm going to do a timer. You can just keep saying it, and you'll find that as you're saying it, your mind gets distracted and it gets stuck in some thought form, and you might get stuck there for a while. As soon as you realize, oh, I stopped my mantra repetition, you pull yourself out of the thought form and you start again. Om, 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 Om. And it's just like an anchor to get the mind to focus for longer. So we're starting to increase the mastery over the mind. Okay, so if you guys want to work with that, you can, or if you have some other meditation practice you want to work with, you can. We're going to start with a little pranayama, and then we'll set the timer for 20 minutes for the silent meditation. Okay, so let's do alternate nostril breathing. Take your right hand into Vishnu Mudra and fold your peace fingers into the center of the palm. Close off your right nostril with your thumb and inhale through your left nostril. Close off both nostrils and exhale out the right. Inhale through the right. Close off both. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close off both. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close off both. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close off both. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close off both. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close off both. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close off both. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close off both. Exhale through the right. Do that a few more times at your pace. Take one more big breath in, and then we start on the left side, you're gonna end on the left side too. So you'll exhale at the left side when you're ready. And we'll do some bumblebee breath. You'll take your thumbs and close off your ears. Your peace fingers will close off your eyes. So just take a listen for a second. If you haven't done bumblebee breath before, you inhale through the nose and then you exhale out the nose, and you're humming. You try to bring that hum up to through the palate. So there's a soft jaw, a soft tongue, and you're trying to pull the vibration up. You're gonna exhale as long as you can until there's no more sound, and then just start again. You don't have to wait for anybody else. So you're gonna do 5 times. If you've been doing this for a while, we have been practicing for a while, then you can also add locks. So you'll close off the eye lock where you close your eyes and turn them up to the space between the eyebrows gently. And then the root lock, you squeeze the pelvic floor up and in, and this starts to just deposit energy throughout the nervous system. It deposits prana throughout the whole energetic system, the vayus and the nadis and the chakras and all that. Okay, so if you haven't done pranayama for a while, you're not going to use the locks. You're just going to work on that vibration, and we'll do count of 5. Okay, so close off your ears, close off your eyes, inhale deeply. Okay. We'll complete with bellows breath. We inhale, push the diaphragm out, and then exhale, pull the diaphragm in. Okay, we're going to do that for 30. And then you can either take a very deep breath or you can retain the breath if you've been practicing pranayama for a while. If you haven't been, we have to slowly tame the prana beast, right? You don't want to jump in too fast. So I'll talk you through it. Inhale all the way. Exhale all the way out. Inhale halfway. And then press the belly in. Inhale all the way. Pull in through the pelvic floor lock, suck the belly in, tuck your chin, turn your eyes up to the space between the eyebrows. Release the chin, release the belly, release the root, and exhale. Inhale deeply and exhale deeply. Now you'll get comfortable. You can sit comfortably. I'm going to set the timer and then we're going to close out class. Just want to welcome those who are new to the practice. We practice every morning. Feel free to come back. And for everybody, as you move through your day today, try to remember that deeper consciousness in yourself and that deeper consciousness in other people. Take a deep inhale, a deep exhale, and bringing the hands to prayer, bowing the head. Namaste.